You either show me, say you don't know, or stop making shit up. I wanted to say thank you to a handful of fellow unit owners who had responded after posting my experiences in that video called The Document Request from Hell. And I appreciate you sharing some of your experiences. It is just confirmation that things are pretty freaking sad around here. I at least feel slightly better that I'm not alone in having these kinds of experiences. What bothered me more than Marlon not handing over the document that I had every right to have as it was publicly available, other board members from the towers didn't weigh in. So I'm left hanging. This stuff is slipping through the cracks. Like, what can you do? And then it occurred to me, what about other rec board members? They need to know. But how do you reach them? And I remembered about a month prior to that document from Hell exchange, I had reached out, and one of many questions was the suggesting of what we use in towers, a speak to the board at Quadomain address that serves a single purpose. It automates forwarding your message to the board. So board members keep their emails private, but it guarantees message delivery that they would see it. So I wanted to follow up with that. So I wrote an email to Louis and Janelle on December 21st, near Christmas time, and basically saying, hey, considering your rec board members and on the communication committee, I've kindly been asking for speak to the board email address so it can be set up to forward messages to the 8 rec board members. Then at least I have peace of mind, all eyes have seen it, and that there's a chance that my original issue of not getting a document could actually be addressed. So this is something I've been periodically asking for since 2012 at time. There were prior rec boards that intentionally did not set up this email for political reasons. Other boards out of just sheer laziness and incompetence. So no shade on this board because there's a history of prior boards for 10 years not being able to fulfill a simple function like this. And then to Janelle, I referenced my earlier communication where she did respond, and I appreciate that she did respond. And she has a pretty good track record of that. And, you know, she said, hey, it will be addressed. It's something that we're working on, maybe receptive toward doing it or getting it done. Does anyone other than me find it odd that it would take 10 or 12 years for something, a procedure that would be like 5 minutes of time and still not be done? And what is the harm to it? It only helps, right? That's the point of this kind of thing. So you figure, hey, maybe it's a know-how issue, or hey, there are bigger things to worry about. So I figured, hey, you know, maybe it's a knowledge gap. I'll make it easier to them. So I did the courtesy of looking up quadomainrec.com and where the email records point, and it identifies that it's most probably administered through Google Workspace. So I gave the courtesy of providing a YouTube link as a tutorial of how easy it is. I'm trying to lower the bar where you couldn't make this thing easier as a means to help the community to avoid a communication failure that I'm sure I'm not alone in experiencing.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
So, you know, I followed up and basically said what would be appreciated is some ownership of this. I usually ask for acknowledgement of receipt of emails, which maybe it's a crapshoot when things get replied, and a promise of when it'll get done, who's responsible for doing it, or in the alternative, a reason why the board intentionally chooses not to do it at all. So it took 2 weeks, but I finally got a reply from Janelle, and understandable, it was the holidays. So again, you know, I'm reasonable and realize that stuff like that happens, no biggie. And she stated that there was an announcement by Rec stating if you need to reach out to the board, just simply, you know, email the main address and ask for it to be distributed. At the time when she brought it up to the board, that was a solution. First of all, it's an email address, not a solution. Or if the solution is that instead the better system is to rely on office administrator to be a human forwarder and waste labor, you know, and time, and not being 100% you know, reliable or guaranteed that the message gets where it's going. I don't understand how that's a better alternative, or how anyone decided the policy. And look, again, I appreciate her being responsive to it. I think that's very important. I don't know what she means by bringing it up to the board. I'd imagine informally via emails. I imagine not all board members weighed in. And if so, that's even scarier. If 8 people decided that using a human to waste resources and lessen the reliability of delivery as the better choices. I just don't understand. Like, there's not even a case that could be made how that makes sense. So I reply to that and pretty much say that, I use the address, and too inconsistent. There are times no acknowledgement of receipt. Other times when it was asked to be forwarded, I know it didn't happen. And that speak to a board address guarantees delivery. And then I said, Marlon, please weigh in. Why do you choose to have a manual control point that wastes labor and it's not 100% guarantee? So at this point, I just want to flat out ask, give me a reason why you intentionally choose not to set up a speak to the board address. So then Lewis replies, and I'm grateful for that. That's the whole point of this engagement, reply. That's what we're supposed to do here, right? That's the whole point of having a communication system. So he says there's already a mechanism for you to communicate with board members. It's an email address, not a mechanism. Yeah, sure, you could call it a mechanism. We're talking about an email address here, okay? So board members are not required to provide their personal contact information. No one is saying or asking for your personal contact information. Okay. And then all communications should be routed through Rec Office. Well, they will be. It's called an email forwarder. Rec Office has a copy of it, and it's automatically, without human intervention, being sent to where it needs to go. We're talking about a routing function, if you want to talk about a mechanism. And then he says, hey, we appreciate you identifying another method. Oh, great, right. I've been identifying another method for 12 years that's working great, at least on Tower side. And it's not prudent to create another mechanism. Okay, first of all, there's no cost to do it. It takes like 5 minutes to do it. And, trying to help by providing a link and tutorial show how easy it is. So none of that's being addressed. Then he goes off on a whole separate thing before everyone else, something they should come directly at, the cell phone number he gave me and permission to speak on occasion, which I hadn't more than on a once-a-month text, usually not responded to anyway. I could respect what he's saying, meaning, hey, his privacy is important to me. You know what? I've said, my privacy is just as, important too. That's why I'm not a fan of facial fingerprints. Well, let's save that for another day. On another note, you have four representatives on the recreation board. Like, no fucking shit. Why do you think I'm sending this letter? Because I had not had, that way to really easily reach you or the other 4 board members that should know about the system failure of a rogue president who makes any decision without any kind of oversight or accountability. And hence, we got our system failure here, okay? So please know I could address the issues with them, but yet think about it. If you're giving me the mechanism to allow me to communicate to you, everyone, what is the point of any of this? And I tried that, okay? So here we are, right? And then he says, everyone talks a good game, or actually, no, one thing he says prior, please know and that the communication committee, the reason why I was addressing this email to him and Janelle to begin with, they each ran different communication committees in each tower, is my understanding. They both dissolved or failed, and I don't even know the situation or reason at this point with everything else going on. Whatever, man, it's just like a bridge too far. Like, I need to know that right now. So it's no longer working, and it makes no sense for board members to do without volunteer owners. Okay, I get that. And then he says everyone talks a good game, but when it comes to rolling up their sleeves to actually do the work, it falls back on the board members. Now, the only thing that falls on the board members is effective oversight. If you understand oversight and you let management do management, and you're competent in oversight and they're competent in management, you know what? Things work out and messages like this don't occur. Needs like this doesn't occur. And then he offers, lastly, that condo control, right? The thing that's everyone preaching is the communication platform, and they could also send an email to the rec office. Oh yeah? How? By what means? They could do it if you maybe have a maintenance service request or a ticket. That is the only way. Otherwise, it might list the office at Quadomain Rec mechanism or email address, however you want to lay about it. So on, Jan 4th, Marlon weighs in, as she should. I asked her why. Give me the reason. So she's mentioned, she'll be brief about it. She's still on vacation. Thank you for the suggestion. I'm sorry it was not provided to the board prior to purchasing condo control. These are two separate things that have nothing to do with each other. Condo control has nothing to do with QuadomainRec.com address. except for a login button. The second you press login, we all get routed, the magic word routed, right, to Condo Control. And it's there. It doesn't use our website, doesn't use our email controls. It's not one or the other. Okay, so she's saying Condo Control's current form of communication. The issue is not the app. It's getting owners to use it. Again, now she's pitching me on, woe is me, it's about condo control. So they're both missing the point. It's not about condo control. There is no mechanism on condo control to reach the board as an alternative to the thing that I've been suggesting all this time. So I reply to that, point of clarification. What mechanism, right now I'm starting to use their words, what mechanism in condo control app served as a means to communicate with the entire board? Show me, tell me where. I'm aware the office can be reached and a maintenance ticket created, but what feature in condo control allows for board communication? Then I remind Lewis that the whole point of the email forward address was to serve as a proxy so the board member addresses wouldn't be revealed. And then I address his other issue where he, I think, had crossfire and maybe made a misjudgment by conflating my communication or attempt to communicate with him with other problems he's having. It's not germane here other than I was insulted by it, but at least he had the decency to address that and say and apologize, which sets him a little apart from other board members who don't when they should. And then Lewis ends with, my idea was a good one. Oh, okay, hey, at least we acknowledge that. But the board opted to go with condo control. This is what I don't understand. There is no means in condo control. I've asked, what is the means to do this? How through condo control can you reach all the board members and it guarantees to get there? Where did he get that idea from? Well, the prior thing, because that's what Marlum said, okay? So it's like a game of telephone operator that gets worse and worse, and no one's really thinking about it. They're just filling the gap. If answers are not known, well, let's just say and make things up to fulfill any kind of answer is better than maybe no answer. I don't know what the motivation or logic is behind that, but this happens a lot too here. We all learn usually on our first job, if you don't know something, you say, I don't know, I'll get back to you. Doesn't happen around here. And then getting back to other board members who never apologize. Instead, they choose to double down forever. And you know what this really is? It's about resistance. It's a double-edged sword. I appreciate Lewis and Janelle. They were willing to engage, reach out, respond. But the logic from the part of the response from both Lewis and Marlon makes no sense. If people would have stopped, think, and look, it's common sense. So now, when I step back and think about it, it probably is for the best that I didn't get a reply to my question, what mechanism in condo control app serves as a means to communicate with the entire board, because the answer is there is none. And you know what my problem is if someone were to reply, they would just make shit up. I'm going to throw a little caveat. Let's assume condo control has some hidden feature to somehow offer communication to the whole board. That could easily be like a web form you'd find on any website. But the point is, the association is in control of the quadomainrec.com address, and the only way to do it through an email address has to be directly from our control and not this separate condo control app. And to be honest, with Marlum's MO, I wouldn't put it past her for a minute to call it condo control, just to come up with anything to defend the things she makes up on the fly to begin with. And that's what makes her style of governance actually too high risk here and dangerous for the rest of us. If she wants to take a hands-on approach and be the management, then where's the rest of the board doing the oversight on her? Well, it turns out I actually did get one last reply the following day, and it wound up coming from Gustavo, who's a board member on QCA Tower side, and it's like the only normal, reasonable answer, right? He's saying, hey, my request is reasonable and helpful. He gets it. What better than an email address where community members can address questions or comments to the board instead of being one-way communication from the board on mostly fait accompli decisions? And the irony of it all, how did Gustavo get the email in the first place? Well, because I carboned the speak to the board address. So it's validation that it works. Well, in fact, it's been working for like a dozen years for us, and it's been going good. And I gotta circle back to this one last item we just addressed. When Lewis replies, your idea is a good one, but the board opted to go with condo control. They're not mutually exclusive. It doesn't have to be one or the other. That's the whole point of it. One has nothing to do with each other, and that's not a reason or excuse. I don't blame Lewis because he's just riffing that thinking off of what Marlon brought up by saying and believing that you could do it through condo control. And obviously you can't. It's like you either show me, say you don't know, or stop making shit up. And that seems to be the systemic problem, at least from the leadership of REC, and more specifically, the president of REC. And probably why REC should consider, in my opinion, reorganizing the board.